Hi everyone, how are you? Welcome to another day of Raw Real Talks. It is Tuesday, July 27th, and definitely an amazing, beautiful day to let go of what no longer serves us. So that's the energy of this specific day. Right now, we are connecting with Kristen. We're just waiting for her. So today what we're going to be discussing, and as you know, sometimes things are planned, but other times, hey Adrian, hey Jeannie, oh my girls. Sometimes things are planned in advance, but I never know how things are going to be unfolding. So today we're really going to be discussing about boundaries and about how important it is to not only set them, but how sometimes they play a major, whether or not you're going into your destiny or whether or not you are creating fate. So let us. Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I am good. I'm
Missed you
excellent.
last week.
Oh, I missed you. How was it? It was great, right?
It was fun. Lee's a really special person, and she was very raw and real. But I'm glad we were able to give you a reprieve. But it's wonderful to
Yes.
reconnect. I definitely missed our weekly chat.
Oh, it's like, you know what? When we connect, it's wonderful because it's like you're the catalyst of allowing my heart's vessel to just it's literally it just starts I start channeling in whatever needs to be channeled in, but it's wonderful when you yourself you create such a nurturing environment with trust, and even with your beautiful subtle voice, there's so much strength behind it, and nurture, and responsibility, and loyalty. So I thank you for that, for creating this space for all of us.
Wow. Thank you. And I will receive that, and I appreciate that. And last week was vibrating for me big time. Was what is it to own your truth? And you don't have to do that boisterously, aggressively. So that was a theme. So I really
Oh,
appreciate
wow.
what you just said, because that is what I live, right? But I'm very excited this week because my dreams last night were very vivid.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like there's this major release going on, major, right? And boundary setting and being okay with change and truth. Today's conversation, I think, is going to help a lot of people because there's a lot going on right now. I can feel it.
Oh, it's certainly a lot going on. Absolutely. And before you logged on, I was mentioning, like as a numerologist, I always tune into the vibration of the day, and messages of what the angels are guides and what want to tell us. And today's date, which is July 27th, it is the energy of letting go as well, of what no longer serves. This was actually my one of my best friend's birthday. She passed away when she was 39, Christine. So I think about her, all the time during this is a very special, special day. And this is, she's a light worker, number nine. 2 plus 7 equals a number nine. And nine is the energy of the guru, of the light shiner, the light bringer. And sometimes number nines, they have challenges in boundaries. They feel that they have to save everyone. And because it's not about control, actually. It's not about the ego. It's more about of fearing and watching, and the never wanting to see anyone suffer. So today's date is July, which is the month where we're connecting to the energy. It's a Neptunian, removing the veil energy. Neptune is the planet of illusion, or perhaps when we remove the veil, it's a dream come true. We see things for what they are, not necessarily of what we desire or what we would like them to be. What we like them to be is the ego that's saying, I want it like this because this is where it's going to make me feel comfortable. But letting that go, in a sense, is, and trusting in the divine and the universe that your destiny is safe and protected, being guided by it. It takes some work, it takes some work, because so we don't feel that we were cheated on or betrayed. And 2021, as you know, it's a year of voicing our truth. But what had happened, and all of this is like, this is a culmination where I had an aha moment this morning. For about 800 years, we were under the rule of, like, planet Earth, right? It was under the rule of Earth. It was very, Saturnian energy, very, and Earth is about structure. It's about, I'm talking about Earth, the elements, earth, air, water, fire, those different kinds of elements. So for 800 years, we were under the rule of Earth. And when things are, under the rule of that particular element, it's about building and expansion and building and structure. But with Saturn, with that energy of Saturn, Saturn teaches us sometimes not the most compassionate way. We had a lot of Saturnian energy. It teaches us the hard way. It's like the strict father, the strict parents, the strict, and a lot of rigidness. Now, in December of 2020, we had a shift from 800 years of being in Earth to air. We're now in Aquarius, right? It's the age of Aquarius. And, we've been speaking about this for quite some time, the age of Aquarius in the 1970s, not 1960s, 1970s, they were, when the age of Aquarius comes, like, everyone's going to be, in this like living a psychedelic dream without using narcotics. You know what I mean? But essentially what is happening is that the veil is completely dropping. So those that were able to put things under the rug, emotions, like emotions, anything that's physical that you're ignoring, the signs in your body, mentally, that is like some redundant thoughts, material things, attachment to tchotchkes and things that, like, if I don't have that, it's also the, competing with the Joneses, spiritual attachments. There's a lot of spiritual imposter stuff going on out there also. People are throwing things out there, saying words to attract in order to manipulate at times. That's the spiritual ego. Like, what are we attached to? And emotional attachments of the idea of not feeling whole unless we have a certain type of relationship in our life, in the way that we thought, in our marriages, in our working partnerships, with our children, with our neighbors, all of these things. So now that we are in the age of Aquarius, what is essentially happening is that veil is dropping. And the veil is dropping. You can no longer put things under the rug. You will trip. And people are going, like, the truth, how they say the truth shall set you free. This is what is happening. So in order to go into our destiny's doors, and I always say doors, into our destinies, the temple of our own destiny, we must remove any facade that we were attached to because of our insecurities. All of us have insecurities, right? All of us have amazing talents. All of us have fears. We are having this, this 3D experience in physicality so we can feel pain in order to really transcend it into joy, but not of staying with it for a very long time. Human beings sometimes are the wrath of their own mental suffering, like they, bring, and they sabotage themselves at times, when you can just step out and change it immediately. Change is like just on the other side. And boundaries, setting them, sticking to them, trusting in them is the way that you can step into destiny. And today, July 27th, is pivotal, because from this day forward, we're now like in Leo season. Leo is about power and sun. Sun is like, the greatest light that shines. And it's going to take this huge, think of like people that are in movie production. I work a lot with like, SAG and, actors and producers, like they, when they're on scene, like there's all of these lights that are there, right? So what is going to be happening is that we're going to see things that were hidden, but not so we get disappointed and beat ourselves up, but so now we can devise a new measurable results spiritual action plan.
I love
And that's
that.
it. Yeah.
And what a beautiful thing to bring into a healing space, right?
Yeah.
And talk openly and rawly about it. So let me ask you, as I'm digesting, and I knew when I woke up this morning, I was like, oh, we're going to be talking about releasing today, because I can just feel it. And I know Jeannie's weighed in that she's been feeling it too.
Yeah.
What are some of the differences between boundary setting and releasing?
That's so, two separate entities, because we were in physicality for so long, like in an earth set, it's like even the way schools are structured, for those of you that are in the United States, right? It's like, with not even in the United States, it's everywhere. Before you could go down to the second grade, you have to learn a certain curriculum in first grade. There's all these different curriculums so you can graduate, right? But the thing is that whatever we're taught in school and through societies, and even through the way that our parents and ancestors have passed things down, we have to be flexible with the changes that are coming within. And I'm not saying that the old ways aren't respectful, but a lot of things are antiquated at this moment in time. And it's time to move on to, and I don't want to say greener pastures, but the unknown sometimes, and is a really beautiful place, because it's the place of silence where you connect to yourself. So surrendering and letting go and setting boundaries, in order to create those healthy boundaries, we need to scan our bodies. Like this is to see where we have given our power away, our own personal power, our own life force that is within us, just away. It's as if like we allowed others to plug in to us, like tap into us, and they're just takers, thinking, well, that's, I guess, why I'm created to be their life force. No, every single person on this planet has their own life force. They are connected to spirit. They have their own soul. They have their own destiny. The most important thing, the rule is not to, is you need to love yourself more than you love anyone else. And it sounds a little bit selfish, because, it's not about faithful, but it's about staying faithful to yourself. I'm not talking about anyone else. And when that's the most important thing. So when you listen to your body and you scan your body from, especially if you know the chakras, there is one Raw Real Talks that we did. I think we mentioned the chakras, and we could do that again. And when you scan your body, different parts of our bodies has an energetic, vortex, right? There's vortex that are in our body, and they have emotional fields associated with it. These are called chakras. And these emotional fields also are in charge with our, the way that we perceive with our mental body, the way we are internalizing it, it gets stuck or it flows through. It's the food for our energetic system and of our physical system. It gives us energy or it depletes our energy. So we can scan our body from below to above, and the below we would ask, where do I fear like that I can't step take the necessary steps into my future. And where have I given my power away when it came down to standing still and not being able to move? What is holding me stagnant? Without placing blame on anyone, especially not to yourself. Then the second one, then we ask with the second, and then we let it go. Because the first thing is awareness. You can't let go unless you know what it is where you've been giving away your power, and not filling that bank up. The second thing is then you ask, where have I given my power away, in terms of not about being too trusting, but not trusting yourself, thinking that somebody else can love you better in the way that you think that you need. No one can love you in the way that you need except for yourself.
Oh, I so love that. That is so beautiful. And, I think if we take a very literal example of boundary setting and releasing,
right,
we can all think of a time when we were scared, right? And we went through a transition and there was a change. Mm-hmm. And now in hindsight, we can be like, oh my gosh, that was like the best thing that ever happened to me, because it made room for something that wasn't even on our radar. We didn't even know to dream that or think of that. So as I physically can feel that there is a major release going, and I don't know what's releasing. And I said to my husband when I woke up, I go, oh my gosh, I had the weirdest dreams. I couldn't even tell him what they were. And I said, I just feel this big release. And he's like, well, what are we releasing? I'm like, babe, I don't know. I have no idea what's being released right now, but I'm going to welcome it and step into it, because now there's going to be room for things that I don't even know yet. So think about a time, maybe you didn't jack up your weekend with a bunch of plans, and then this amazing friend called that you hadn't talked to in forever and was like, I know this is last minute, but would you like to, I don't know, go to Dave Matthews in West Palm Beach? And I'm like, yes, I do. I'm available. So we can all use a literal example of release and boundary setting and saying no and clearing, so that the universe can then provide us with something that's not even on our radar.
Exactly. And it's about trusting. And that's where we go up to the third chakra, which is about control and surrendering, surrendering, trust, be spontaneous. That's like, remove, otherwise when we're always in control, there's going to be a lot of like the GI issues, spasms, under eating, overeating to compensate of feeling adequate or inadequate, right? And that's our relationship with food, with nurture, with nourishment. And then the fourth chakra, where am I giving my power away? It's not of thinking, again, this is very similar, if somebody else is going to love me in the way that I need, of what is it that my soul is listening to, the voice of your soul. What does my soul desire? And it may seem so outlandish, but in order for us, like exactly what you said, spontaneity, like, be off the cuff at times, like do things like that. Was my weekend, by the way, also. Me, now I'm setting boundaries of my work. No is no. Even like, if I showed you how many texts I have, you're going to be like, oh my God, there's over 270 texts. I kid you not. Because there's boundaries. It's like, are these working hours? Are these not working hours? And it's not about lack of compassion. It's about holding that energy within, because if you don't charge your own batteries, what's going to happen is that you're just going to be running on empty, on fumes. And that's when our pranic force gets really low. And that's where the viruses come in. That's where the fear energy comes in, the worry, the anxiety, because we're not grounded. So the fourth chakra is very important, of like, where have I allowed, it's almost like of lack of breath, lack of trust in the divine, that they have our back also. It's of self-love. It's, oh, I'll do that later, I'll do it tomorrow. And then the fifth is, where have I been giving my power away? By not speaking up, by thinking somebody else can speak those words better than I can, when only in your heart you know the truth. And sometimes we may not all have the greatest talent of expressing ourselves in the most eloquent way at times because of insecurities or of the fear that we're not intelligent enough or not educated enough. Or but when you speak the truth, it's the highest form of education, because it's Ivy League, it's whatever it may be, it's you know, it is something, because it's your truth, and that in itself sets you free. And then we have energy, which is like our sixth chakra, and this is about our internal vision. And that's what essentially helped for that's what opened up for so many in June, was that veil of look internally, stop looking outside of yourself, look within. The answers are always there. And even Einstein, this is one of like the laws of physics and the way that he explains, you can't, if you created a problem, you can't utilize the same energy for the solution. The solution's always there. You have to raise the vibration in order to see the solution at a vantage point. Think of it like being on a freeway and or a highway, and then there's like, you know, then you go on this bridge, right, or an overpass. You're not, the freeway is below and the overpass is above. If you are still, there's an accident, God forbid, on the bottom half, you don't really see it on the top. You don't. So it's always like whatever accidents happen, it's there to teach you. And you see that, you know, it's important to raise the vibration to find the solution. And when you find that solution, that will lead you to your destiny. That will create the space. So the first thing is the awareness. The second is the letting go part. How do you let go? Is you let go by realizing that what you were seeking was yourself. And you tune in to the frequency of all of the happiest moments of your life and how you created that happiness, not someone else coming in to create your happiness. You created that happiness. And if you can't think of a time, then create it. Go do something brand new. Join an art class, join, you know, do yoga, try something that you've always wanted to try, because if not now, then when, right?
I love that. And I think in the release and the letting go part, right, and setting the boundary part, something in the healing space that I think is really important, and really our community, we're probably the hardest on ourselves, right? We're givers, we're
Yeah.
service, and that self-love thing, as we've talked about for months, is so vital. I love that you brought up Einstein. I live in a part of the world that celebrates Thomas Edison. I'm going to be
Me
connected.
too.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
And so one thing that kept vibrating this week that I really want us to digest when it comes
Yeah.
to boundary setting and also letting go is there's zero chance we're going to live 100 years and never make a mistake.
I've never made a mistake. And I'm 101. Now I could start.
You look damn good. Keep it up.
Now
Keep
that
it
I'm
up.
101, I'm going to start making those mistakes.
I want to know whatever cream you're using, because I want that. So I think when I was younger and I was trying to create safety, right, I was constantly saying, I was always right, and I was always manipulating the scenario so that I could be right. And as I've aged, I find myself most of the time saying, I don't know. That's so interesting. Or, oh my gosh, I messed up. You know, it's never intentional that I made a mistake, right?
Never.
But, what are your thoughts? What was your vision? How did you see that? And whether you forgive me or not for making a mistake, okay, but I have to forgive me for making a mistake.
Correct.
So I think in that healing space, when it comes to releasing and boundary setting, is when I've made a mistake or someone's made a mistake with me, are we releasing that? And how are we showing up? We've talked about showing up with compassion, showing up with grace. I have to tell you a quick story. Yesterday, I had my car serviced for an hour in the morning on my way into my office. And I said, it's an hour, right? Because you wouldn't give me a loaner car like you always do. So it's an hour. And he's like, yeah, it's an hour. 3.5 hours later, I went and I found
Well,
a
you're
guy.
in Florida. 1 hour is 3.5 hours.
Right.
You
It
know,
felt like it.
one
So,
hour New York is 45 minutes.
right. Well, the poor guy, he clearly, when he saw me, he forgot me. And I had a moment
Oh,
in time where I was like, I'm going to call the owner of this, I know the owner, like and I'm like, no. And I released it and I forgave. And I was like, maybe he kept me off the road because I was not supposed to be on the road for the 2.5 other hours. So I bring that into this space, right, where I released my anger and the amazing disruption to a Monday morning. And I'm really excited that I chose that path of forgiveness and just kindness. So I think releasing judgment of others and self and setting boundaries, when necessary and appropriate, are really foundational to what we're going through right now.
absolutely. And there are different boundaries, um, as children, many of us, and for those that had a beautiful childhood and, God bless, absolutely, but there are many people that have gone through abuse, mental abuse, spiritual, not, I don't want to say spiritual abuse, mental abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, all different kinds of abuse. And these things hold, um, it marks a block in our hearts sometimes. We think that, well, I have to protect myself because I feel powerless at this moment. And our childhood really, paints the picture of how much we can um, go forward in. It's about restrictions. I was brought up with a very strict parent. My father was super duper strict. Like, I could, if I looked, this way, it'd be like, you're not thinking, you have to look straight. Like, it was very, very strict. And I had to walk the fine line, even though I was extremely rebellious. But I feared that. And those restrictions, we end up thinking that if we don't do it, quote unquote, the right way, that we're going to get punished. And boundaries are important so we can have more time for compassion and for healing for ourselves, so we can expand more what we came here on this planet Earth to do. All of us have specific gifts, beautiful talents, and just to hold it in within ourselves, it's a shame. We came here to share it. So the
It is.
boundaries,
And I want
yeah.
to read here, we had a beautiful comment. Why in
Hmm.
you has weighed in here. And if I may read what they shared,
Of
because I was like,
course.
oh, exactly. Mistakes only exist in the mind through ego. And because we think it's a
Correct.
mistake. For the soul, there is no such thing as a mistake. Everything is
No.
always perfect for our soul's growth.
Oh,
Rock on.
bless your
Thank you
soul.
for summarizing Janet and I going on and on about mistakes, because they're not. They're gifts to help us realize we're off path, or they're to help us grow. So thank you for that beautiful
Yes.
comment. That's
What
perfect.
a beautiful, beautiful. I mean, that really summed it up, truly. And, so then we'll then, conclude in this. The boundaries that is most important to keep, is, we must be loyal to ourselves. And their physical boundaries, right? Mental boundaries. It's like, mental boundaries sometimes, when there's a lot of media, depending on what you choose to bring into your energetic space. So mental is also the relationship and the peanut gallery that's speaking to us. There's also material boundaries as well. Some people, uh, they feel that the more things they have, the more secure that they will be. Spiritual boundaries. Discern who is the real deal and who is not. Don't just go along because you think they know better. If they're not vibing with you, it's okay. We are all different in that sense, right? It's fine. Thank you very much. And then emotional boundaries. When we're in a certain situation, does this make me feel light or does this make me feel heavy? And if it makes you feel heavy, you ask yourself, where have I felt like that before? Where was I? How old was I? And then you go into that space in that time with such compassion. And if you don't have, I mean, it's great if you have like a spiritual mentor or a teacher or through hypnotherapy, um, by all means, to help guide you through, but do it through love. And then journal those things in. When have I felt like that before? And feel it in your body. Picture what you were wearing. And how would you handle it now of the older, wiser you, giving yourself the advice that it was just a learning experience. And that's the way we surrender to our destiny.
I love that.
Yes.
And because I interrupted you with that great comment, and now YNU's asking, before we end, could you please say what question to ask the crown chakra? It's the only one we didn't get to.
Yes. Oh my God, who's asking that? They are YNU. Oh, you're so insightful. Thank you. So the crown chakra is our subconscious mind. That is our past, not just our past from our childhood, but also our past lives. And this is also what we connect to while we're dreaming. That's like what you said, you had vivid dreams. When we're dreaming, we supersede our conscious or logic and we go into the subconscious. So through the seventh chakra, we ask, where have I not surrendered to what my dreams are guiding me to? Where have I been? And the dreams are something that sometimes we're guided. We see things metaphorically in dreams, and also through numerology, angels, guides, different signs, symbols, metaphors. When you see things in synchronicity as well, there's the universe is trying to tell you something. So the seventh chakra would be one of, where have I neglected my own higher self streams?
Love that. And, I find myself when I'm going to bed and expressing gratitude that I ask to release and let go and show me, so that I can live that highest path that I came here to experience. So thanks for bringing that in and for your beautiful comments, YNU. That was really, really helpful. Janet, I loved the selection of boundary setting and release today. And I think everyone in our community of healing through Raw Real Talks feels it at a genetic cellular level. I can't articulate it. I just know, and I appreciate how you help us better understand what we're feeling, because that makes us stronger in our intuition and trusting ourselves. And that's a really beautiful thing that you've helped me. I just was on a podcast where there's intuition and how do you know, right? And I'm like, well, at this point, I can't even answer that question, because I do so trust my intuition now. And it's been through great conversations with you that have helped me get to that inner knowing and do that healing work through letting go. So thank you, sister.
Thank you. Thank you with your big open heart. Thank you for receiving, and thank you for trusting in yourself. So until next time, this beautiful Raw Real Talk community, we love you. Hi, Mariama.
Hi,
We're signing off, my angel.
Self-care,
we love
you. Thank you.
And until next time, next week, please join us. And if you want to join in for the free monthly vibe that I do on every first Thursday, it's global. You get to ask questions. There's a Q&A at the end. If you show up live, you can just sign up at janetnamaste.com and you'll receive an invite. But until next time, make sure that the more that you are no to others, you are a yes to yourself. Love yourself, honor yourself, and have a blessed week. Namaste, everyone.
Namaste.
Until next time.
Love you, sister.
Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.